Hello, you're watching the Europe Report on France 24 with me, Catherine Nicholson. Thanks for being with us. On the menu for you today, the French Socialist Party candidate sparks fury with comments linking a former president to the Rwandan genocide. A far left to far right election defection in the French campaign as well. And in Austria, a comedian reportedly being sued over political comments. We're also going to be debunking a claim that the EU flag was designed as a Christian symbol. Well, that's coming up later, but we will start with high drama in the French campaign. The lead candidate for the Socialists is in hot water with bigwigs from his own political family. This over controversial comments by Raphael Glucksmann, implying that President François Mitterrand was complicit in the Rwandan genocide. Well, François Mitterrand was France's first socialist president. He died in 1996. Two separate statements by Glucksmann are proving contentious, one of them from January and another from April. 23 former ministers have written to the party to complain. That letter published in French newspapers on Wednesday. As we record this edition of the Europe Report, there hasn't yet been any statement in response from Mr. Glucksmann or his team. Well, meanwhile, a candidate for the far left, La France Insoumise party, has called on his constituents to vote for one of his rivals, and not just any rival, but the candidate for the far right, Rassemblement National. That's the party led by Marine Le Pen. Andrea Cottarec said that he made the call as tactical voting in order to stop a candidate from President Macron's list from being elected. As a result, he has earned himself a deselection, and the wrath of his now ex-party's leader, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, described Cottarec as a traitor and, his words, a stink bomb. Marine Le Pen, meanwhile, told French reporters the defection made sense to her, saying that La France Insoumise, as a party, keeps saying that Macron must be defeated. Now, there are concerns about media freedom in Austria after a lawyer in Vienna lodged a legal complaint against a comedian over political comments. Jan Böhmermann is known for his outspoken satire. In a recent interview he gave on Austrian public TV, he described Chancellor Sebastian Kurz as, quote, a 32-year-old insurance salesman with lots of hair gel. In the same programme, he also talked of Austrian voters themselves as, I quote again, 8 million morons, calling out for authoritarian leadership. Well, in the 2017 general election, Sebastian Kurz's Conservative Party came out on top. They formed a rather controversial alliance, however, with the FPO party, seen as being from the far right. That's the party that came in third place with just over 1.3 million votes. Well, earlier I asked Rubina Möhring, who's president of Reporters Without Borders Austria, if she thinks that the case against Jan Böhmermann will be successful.
I don't think so. I mean, this lawyer who did it, he is well known for actions like these. And I think it's quite a good propaganda for him and his office, but nothing else.
Well, this is a TV comedian in this case. There have, though, however, been recent cases of journalists being attacked by Austrian political figures too.
Yes, it's very, very difficult, the situation now. As you know, Reporters Without Borders International got its international index analyzing 180 countries. And until last year, Austria got the place number 11, and that's in the wide region where the democracy is absolutely perfect, or more or less perfect. Now it sank down to place number 16, 5 points down. That's a lot. I mean, that's really a lot. And now it's in the yellow, so-called yellow region, where you have to look at it and just to observe what's going on with democracy in Austria. Democracy means as well press freedom. So it's just the first year of our new government. You know, we got a conservative coalition between the conservatives and the right populists. And well, journalists sometimes are in danger, especially TV journalists of the public TV. It's Armin Wolf, the best moderator Austria got. He's very exact. fact, he is very, very careful. And while FPÖ was calling him, the right populists were calling him a liar, and even the vice chancellor called him a liar, and then he said, oh no, it's the time of the carnival, it was a joke. That's not a joke. So you see what's going on here. And of course, they try to intimidate the journalists and to manipulate them, the journalists as well. So they're just reporting what the government wants to be reported and nothing else.
Staying in Central Europe and moving on to the next stop on the France 24 Europe tour. When you think of high-tech, you might think of Silicon Valley, Japan, or perhaps China. But did you know that tiny Slovenia is currently positioning itself as a digital revolutionary? This former Yugoslav nation has been hit hard by the recent financial crises. And in many parts of the country, crumbling infrastructure is a more pressing concern. Now, though, that the powers that be are hoping technology will provide a cushion from more economic shocks, our reporters Clovis Casali and the France 24 Europe Tour team went to see for themselves.
Tourists travel to Slovenia for its stunning landscapes and investors for its digital environment. On the top floor of a Ljubljana skyscraper is Origin Trail, a startup specialized in blockchain, a revolutionary technology in storing data. It has offices in Belgrade and Hong Kong and recently raised 20 million euros.
Origin Trail has been working on traceability of data and products. And when blockchain came to the certain development phase, there was a perfect fit of how to improve data integrity and also store the data in the decentralized way.
Blockchain is a core component of cryptocurrencies. Slovenia's biggest shopping mall is even nicknamed Bitcoin City, as most of the stores accept digital currencies for everyday items. Peter Merk is a lawyer who works with blockchain startups run by Slovenian pioneers.
One of the reasons for young Slovenians being so open is definitely Erasmus. There is some kind of fusion in Slovenia about the knowledge the student gets abroad, and they bring it home, and they started their own startup story here.
Peter is seeing his country change rapidly.
25 years, 30 years ago, we were still part of Yugoslavia, and now we are not part of the Balkans, we are part of Central Europe.
The modernization of Slovenia is at the heart of political discussions ahead of the European elections. And this small country of 2 million people gets significant funding from Brussels.
We had 3.8 billion euros. These European funds, I will be very frank, are very important, especially in this research innovation area. The last recession, starting 2008, was very good in some way because our industry and the whole economy, I can say, changed in a way of going toward the digitalization.
Still, Slovenia remains below the European average for connectivity, with only a quarter of the country enjoying fast broadband. On the outskirts of the capital,
Follow me, I'll show you around.
a group of self-taught IT experts meet up in a school basement.
This is the shelter, and it's a bit chaotic, don't be afraid. The main goal is to recycle as much as we can. Everything we collect is used, old, try to fix if there's something broken. Otherwise, we just open the system, we clean it up and put the dust away. We put it in perfect condition again.
These volunteers then give away the machines to those who, just like them, hail from modest backgrounds.
Computers and technology should be available to all, especially in this day and age. Everybody needs IT skills to educate themselves, play, and of course, find a job.
The group is hopeful the government will one day support them financially. The industrial sector generates 20% of Slovenia's national income, but the country wants to rely less on exports and become a digital leader.
After Slovenia, we head next to Austria. In Vienna, we'll be looking at how the government is reducing child benefits for workers coming from neighbouring countries. But does this amount to discriminations against fellow Europeans? We'll be asking the question. Join us very soon for more news ahead of the EU elections.
Well, as Clovis said, the Europe Tour's next stop is Austria. After that, the team's going to move on to Budapest in Hungary to investigate new labour reforms that have been dubbed a slave law. Then it's on to Krakow in Poland, before Germany, as well as Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, and we have a bonus stop for you in latecomer to this election, the UK. Well, let's take you back to Brussels now for the latest in our report series, Europe Behind the Scenes. Among the thousands of EU-related workers in the Belgian capital, there are more than 2,000 interpreters working at the European Parliament. Each day they take on the mammoth task of translating all 24 official languages of the European Union at the endless string of meetings, committees and Parliament sessions. So who are these faceless voices and how does it all work? Alix Le Bourdon spent the day with two of them to find out.
To get to her office, Marie-Lise has to maneuver through this maze of corridors. We are at the European Parliament in Strasbourg, and this Estonian interpreter is getting ready for an out-of-the-ordinary meeting. Greta Thunberg is going to address members of Parliament, meaning the interpreters will be translating a unique message, a call for action from a very young climate activist.
Her statements are quite radical, borderline aggressive. She blames the entire world, but she's been sincere.
In the French translation booth, Serge is studying his notes in preparation for this unusual debate. Here, every detail counts.
Her activism, her interviews, even her parents' names, this is information that could feature in her speech. We don't know how this discussion is going to go. Tensions could rise, maybe they won't.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I'm 60 years old.
This marks the start of an intense hour of concentration for the interpreters, who translate into the 24 official languages of the European Union.
There were a lot of emotions. We could see Greta's tears rolling down her cheeks.
When we translate, it's as if we are the person speaking, so we feel their emotions, and we do our best to replicate them in our languages. It really takes a toll on us.
It's a never-ending job that requires 250 full-time staff and 2,000 freelancers. In the past, the preference was for native speakers. Since the EU's expansion in 2004, habits have had to change.
In the French booth, we do not have enough people to simultaneously translate multiple languages for the various meetings. So we rely on colleagues like Marie-Lise, who can translate into a language that is not their mother tongue.
The job is a team effort. Marie-Lise translates from Estonian into French, and the other booths then translate that into their own languages. Their cooperation is at the heart of how the European Parliament functions.
Now, finally then, let's leave you with a little fact check on perhaps one of the best-known aspects of the European Union, its flag. Roxane Runel unpicks its history in Fact or Fake.
Is the European flag a Christian symbol? The rumor originated with French far-left politician Jean-Luc Mélenchon. In June 2017, he said,
"Frankly, why are we expected to put up with this? This is the French Republic, not the Virgin Mary. This thing is unconstitutional."
Later in October, Mr. Mélenchon's party asked for the EU flag to be taken down from the French National Assembly. Their reasoning, the man whose design inspired the European flag, Arsène Heitz, said towards the end of his life that he'd been inspired by the 12 stars on the so-called miraculous medal cherished by many Roman Catholics. Here's the real history. In 1950, the Council of Europe, not an EU institution, launched an open call to design a European flag. Arsène Heitz was a civil servant who submitted a few ideas. One of them looked a lot like today's European flag, except that it had 15 stars, representing the 15 members of the Council at the time. The committee set up to pick a winner liked this idea, but the 15 stars included Saarland, a formerly German territory that at the time had French protectorate status. To avoid diplomatic trouble, the Council reduced the number to 12, saying this was purely symbolic and would not change. If you want to find significance in the number 12, well, it's the number of hours in the day, months in the year, the labors of Hercules and the signs of the zodiac. At the end of 1955, the flag was formally adopted by all of the Council of Europe's members at the time. It's been the European Union's official flag since January 1st, 1986. Our conclusion: the European flag was not designed or intended as a religious symbol. It's the product of a colourful collective conception rather than an immaculate one.
That's all we've got time for on this edition of the Europe Report. I hope to see you again for our next programme. We have this show every day, Monday to Friday, between now and the European elections at the end of next week. See you soon for more European news here on France 24.